All right. You want to start us out today?
Yeah, of course I do.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Welcome,
right.
Legion fans. Welcome back. We are kicking
it off.
our new series, Mutant Mayhem. So we are so excited to be digging into all of the X-Men films. And I do mean all. So I'm not just talking original trilogy and second trilogy. I'm actually talking all of our origins pieces with Wolverine. I'm talking about digging into the exciting piece of Logan. We have to.
All right.
It's our job, sir.
That's
Remember.
True.
Keep
This is
in
our
mind,
civic
this
duty.
is what is our we have committed
to
bringing justice. Okay? So we've got to dig in even when it's hard. And then culminating at the end with New Mutants.
That's right.
And just because they're new does not mean that they are better.
That's true.
So we are excited today. We're going to kick things off with Mutant Mayhem. And we are starting with the worst of the original trilogy, X-Men 3 Last Stand.
Which, if I have to say, is the best of the worst.
It is the best of the worst. I will agree with you on that. It is bad.
We disagree on some of the aspects of what's good and what's
You'll
bad
hear
about
those
this
disagreements
one.
today.
But it is definitely the best. It's aged the best of all the worst.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But to be fair,
it's
because Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart have aged the best.
and you know what? They might have aged the best, but they definitely de-aged the worst. That de-aging at the beginning of it.
Yes.
I love the scene, but man, it just looks bad.
They this X3, they tried a lot of things. The thing that I will give credit to, and I'm not normally one to give credit in our corrections.
All right, let's hear it.
But the thing I will give credit to is they tried a lot of things.
They did.
They got to give them credit that they
took risks.
Jumped out, took risks on a lot of stuff, but it didn't pay off.
It did not pay off. Not enough. Some of them paid off. Some of the risks they took paid off, but you're right. As a whole, it did not pay off. But it is part of a trilogy.
It is part of a trilogy, and we have to look at it that way, too.
Yeah, and we do want to give some props to the parts that worked well in these X-Men movies. So
something we're going to do different in this series that we haven't done before is we're actually going to talk a little bit about the positive movies from this series.
There were good things.
There were good things from X-Men series, not just in the original trilogy, but in actually both trilogies, in some of the spin-offs. There are good things for us to look at, and we want to be able to, give some perfection.
That's right, to our corrections.
To some of our movie corrections.
Yeah, right, yeah. We're going to be, as we continue to move forward in our quest to correct comic book movies, and as movies hopefully start to open up more.
Yeah, as we start to see some new movies other than Wonder Woman just come out.
Right, and we've got some coming up we know on the horizon, like Black Widow and Suicide Squad and things like that, right? So as these movies come out, we want to kind of broaden our correction field to, we'll have comic corrections, which will be the bulk, because there are a lot of bad movies out there.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
We haven't seen that one yet. The first one was definitely bad.
It'll definitely be a correction. We may be disagreement on when. I know you're going to come around to the fact that it's going to be a correction.
I'm still holding out and hoping that it won't be. But regardless, if movies come out and they're good, we still want to talk about them.
Right.
So we'll have some comic corrections when they're bad, and we'll have some comic perfections when they're good.
And we want to talk about some of those perfections now, too.
That's right. So we have X1 and X2. X1 is by far the beginning of good superhero movies.
Agreed.
So prior to X1, there really wasn't a good superhero movie for a long time. The last good one was probably the first, or Batman Returns.
Batman Returns, I would say, is probably the last good superhero movie before we get into X-Men.
Yeah, and then X-Men came, and it's seen as the pioneer to modern superhero movies. Like, we wouldn't have movies like Avengers Endgame if we hadn't had X1 and X2.
Agreed.
They paved the way.
It's a team-up movie.
Yeah.
It is not an individual superhero, which is different. That's also something that we hadn't had up to that point. So you got to give them a lot of credit for bringing together and really being ambitious with X-Men.
Yeah.
The other thing that goes along with it is in the first X-Men movie, you start to see not just the team dynamic play out, but actually opportunities for all of the character development that needs to happen over the trilogy as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So they lay a strong foundation, and it sets up for a larger storyline that's able to continue. So, I mean, like, that's something that is a credit to X1, where it's really, really, really exciting. And to be, we trash a lot of Fox movies.
We do.
But this is one they did well.
Yeah, yeah. And they did well coming back for X2. They dove deeper into the mythos of X-Men, and they stayed true to a lot of the different characters. They deviated here and there, and we're not against deviations.
No, not if it makes sense within parameters set in the movies.
Exactly.
We're always talking about parameters. If you've got parameters, even if they're stupid, stick to them.
That's right. Yeah. And these parameters were good. They stuck with good parameters.
Exactly.
And they stuck to good storylines. That they went down the Weapon X vein, and we saw a little bit more of Wolverine's past. And again, we also, not only do we have modern superhero movies to thank X1 for, but we have Hugh Jackman to thank X1
for. Yes.
That was his first big Hollywood break. He was coming off of Oklahoma. He actually he still had, like, the perm hair when he went for the Wolverine. Yeah, he tells this really great story where he went to his audition still, like, looking like his character in Oklahoma, the musical, and he wore a hat to the audition. And they asked him to take it off, and he took it off, and they saw the hair, and they were like,
my gosh.
They told him you could put the hat back on.
Did you ever hear about how he discovered him playing Wolverine?
No.
Like the character, how he discovered the character of Wolverine for himself.
What'd he do?
What he did was he actually one morning had to get up really early.
Yeah.
He put on a completely cold shower, completely like freezing.
Yeah.
Got in, and when he jumped in, he screamed. And that was his embodiment. He did it every day then to be able to embody Wolverine.
Oh,
he
that's
was
cool.
Like, that was what inspired this scream of Wolverine when he throws his claws out. Every time that he does that pose of throwing his claws out and yelling, that is from him being in a freezing cold shower in that morning.
I feel like I'm a lot less cool when I jump into a cold shower. I'm more
I definitely don't look as awesome as Hugh Jackman portraying Wolverine I jump into a cold shower.
Like that,
I don't jump into a cold shower. Like, that's not the reality. Like, I'm like, ooh, no.
If I looked like that, I would take a cold shower every morning.
Exactly.
If that's what I looked like. Maybe.
If I even got like a fraction of that.
Yeah. I'll have to try it, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know if the last time I jumped into a cold shower.
So that was how we discovered it. But so X1
great,
foundation.
X2 better.
We introduce Magneto.
Yeah.
We see him as the big bad in that one.
Right.
There is no team up in X1.
No.
It is all about Magneto's trying to actually turn all of humanity into mutants.
Right, yeah.
And that, I think, is amazing. It sets up right off the bat your main villain. There are so many other villains in X-Men. We know that. You can go so many different ways, but they did the right storyline to start.
We got Toad.
Magneto.
We got Sabretooth.
Exactly.
We got Mystique.
Exactly.
And they're great.
And you have the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yeah.
And you have the X-Men.
That's right.
And you get your origin of your main characters, your main protagonists, and your main antagonists set up in X1 just so well.
Well, and they did a great job of bringing us in the vantage point of Wolverine.
Right.
Because the X-Men actually already existed, right? Cyclops and Storm and Jean Grey, they already existed. And as we find out in X3, there was more people too. Like Beast had been a part of it, and so people have kind of phased out of that. So they're
which
already
set them up perfectly then for the next trilogy, which was great.
Yeah.
There was really a lot of foresight
in
X3 in introducing Beast and the way they introduced the previous X-Men to be able to set up for the X-Men First Class storyline, which was great.
Yeah. And so it was cool to see an already established team and then get to walk into it with Rogue and Wolverine. That was really cool.
It was an origin without it actually being an origin story, which was great. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And X2, then you're exactly right. We know, I think what they did really well with X-Men is they did pick one person to be the vantage point.
Yeah.
So Wolverine.
It was Wolverine.
Great.
Because everybody loves Wolverine.
Everybody loves Wolverine.
Everybody loves Hugh Jackman.
He's got the best fan base.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna want. So they chose him to be the entry point, and they stuck with him as the entry point.
Yeah.
So then with X2 to explore his storyline deeper,
and Stryker
and see Stryker, the
so
pain
good.
of that.
Yeah.
And then
Lady Deathscythe.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then the team up.
Yeah.
Now there are certain times where Magneto and Professor Xavier are on the same side.
You can
and
see
there
where
are
they
times
overlap.
where they are not. You see where the overlap happens, and you see where then the deceit happens as well.
Right.
And so you get that in such a great way in X2.
Yeah.
And Stryker being an ongoing villain.
Yeah.
He's not a deep dark like some other villains that are super overly powered like Apocalypse is supposed to be.
Sure, yeah.
But he is somebody he's the villain who's always there.
Yeah.
He never disappears. He's a Lex Luthor type.
Yeah.
Like he's never gone, but he's sometimes like you can relate to him to an extent, and then the storyline with his son, it is phenomenal.
Yeah, super, super good.
Yeah.
And then they set up really nicely. Obviously, this is Bryan Singer going through doing X1, X2, and he sets up the Phoenix story because well, he does because Jean Grey dies.
Well, he
and you
sets
see,
it up, but
he lets it be open, and you see the Phoenix symbol.
He
in
does
the
let
water.
it be open,
right.
so you don't know why or how Phoenix is coming into play at the end of X2. You just know
it's gonna be in play.
It's gonna be in play in X3.
So Bryan Singer leaves the X-Men franchise because and I don't blame him. He gets his dream job to direct a Superman movie.
Sure.
Which he bombed.
Bombed it.
And
Bad
Ratner,
choice. Terrible choice.
Yeah. Brett Ratner comes in and he takes over for X3.
Again, we make a lot of bad choices here.
Not a good
we
choice.
make a lot of bad choices here right after X2.
Yeah.
The director change kills the momentum of this.
Yep, yeah, because Singer had whether it was a good vision or not, he had a vision going forward, and we've seen.
Well, but we don't even know. See, here's the thing: I can probably honestly say he probably had a good vision.
Yeah,
but he sets up for the tease of Phoenix.
Yeah,
which we know is such an amazing storyline.
It's gonna be good.
We know it can be such a great arc, and so. The thing that happens, though, is if you don't have that same vision, this goes to, we talk about with some of the other, with the saga, with the Star Wars direction saga, when you're changing those directions, the vision gets muddy.
Yep.
It shifts.
And sometimes that's okay.
Sometimes it's okay.
But this was not.
This was not. Yeah. This was not. And now we get into our correction.
Let's jump into it. All right, so, let's jump into it. We're going to jump first into our Carnage report and walk through that like we always do. All right, so since this is the third of a trilogy, we're going to talk a little bit about X1 and X2 real quickly for their budget, just to give us a good kind of overarching view of what's happened.
Yeah.
So X1, I can't believe this, man. X1 looked great, and it only had a $75 million budget.
I can't believe that. That's phenomenal.
Nuts. $75 million budget.
What year was it made, though?
Oh, 2000?
Yeah, so I mean, like 75 million then is, I mean, that's a big budget.
They had the big, like, Statue of Liberty
names
scene
were big, though, yet.
Except Ian McKellen and
Patrick Stewart. Yeah.
X2 got a little bit of a bigger budget. Not much, though, man. $110 million.
Still, I mean, you're cracking that $100 million mark, so it's got to, I mean, and again.
Yeah, they kept it pretty grounded.
They kept it pretty grounded, and names that, I'm really, all I see that is bringing the people back.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
That's why they got a bump in that for salaries.
Well, they made $407 million.
That makes sense to me.
That
makes sense to me.
Right.
I honestly think
that was great.
X2 is one of my favorites out of all of them.
Oh yeah,
out of all
the
of
X-Men
them,
movies?
all the X-Men movies, X2 is one of the best. I mean, the storyline with Logan is phenomenal.
Yeah, great. All right, so X-Men Last Stand comes in at a budget. They're upping their money again. Hugh Jackman's kicked off at this point.
Yeah,
become really big. $210 million is the budget.
Yeah, and
so it goes
part
up
of that, though,
$100 million.
It's not just bringing the actors back. Yeah. They didn't stay as grounded with this one.
No, they didn't. They used a lot more.
They used a lot of CGI,
more.
A lot of VFX. I mean, like you're talking big moves.
Yeah.
They were not as grounded in this one.
That's true. Yeah, the Golden Gate Bridge alone move.
Sure.
Which was one of the coolest scenes in the movie, but that was
But think
incredible.
about all of, and we're going to get into this, but think about all of the mutants and all of the different powers. I mean, you think about just like Iceman becoming
he went full
Iceman.
Which was sick.
Which is,
I know
awesome.
We're not big Iceman fans,
no,
but
well, he can.
It was
no,
it was
he's
cool.
worthless.
All right,
but my point being with that, those are major VFX. They're major CGI. That's the stuff that's going to hurt them.
Yeah. All right. So $210 million. They still made a great gross, but it was not as much. Like it was more overall, but not as much of a difference than X2. So $210 million. They made $460 million.
See, yeah,
which
and that's
again,
where
it's great. That was a great amount of money.
Sure.
But it was not as high of a percentage increase in profits.
Right. If you're putting in that much more money, you're expecting that much more of a profit.
You better at least make $500 million.
Right, exactly.
But they made $460.
Right.
Which, again, still good, just not as good.
No, but I mean, if you think about it, when you start factoring in also all of the advertising on top of that, they're not walking away with that much when you put in that much.
Sure. Yeah. All right, so cast, we get most of the people back from the other movies. Hugh Jackman returns, Halle Berry, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart. We get Famke Janssen back as Phoenix or as Jean Grey. We get James Maderson back for a very small. He was like, I want out of this, apparently. So he was very, very little bit in there. Rebecca Romijn, and again, back as Mystique.
Rebecca Romijn.
No. You don't say it Romaine. You can't say it Romaine. It's Romijn. You say that Romaine?
Yeah, her name is Rebecca Romijn. When she was married to John Stamos, it was Rebecca Romijn
really?
Stamos. Yeah.
That's bizarre. It's spelled Romijn.
Every news thing that I have heard, and anytime I've heard her name pronounced as Rebecca Romijn Stamos. I've never known how to Rebecca Romijn.
Yeah, I've never known how to pronounce it.
Rebecca Romijn.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
That is not how it's spelled. Okay.
But speaking of this cast, before you move on, here's the one that I wanted to address.
Okay,
there's more. Go ahead.
And it might be what you're saying.
No. I wanted to address Halle Berry in this.
Okay, we'll get to her. So,
go ahead.
We have some newcomers. Kelsey Grammer comes in as Beast.
Oh, yeah. I love that casting.
So good. That was one of the best ones.
I will say, for me, initially I was like, are we really casting Frasier as Beast?
Oh, he was so good.
I was furious
He was one of the best.
And then he did phenomenal. Oh. It was perfect casting.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I can't see any other Beast. He was so good. And then Elliot Page as Shadowcat, as Kitty Pryde. So we had some good additions, and they did great. I thought everyone they added
a lot of additions
into it.
Actually.
Yeah. Oh, sure. But I'm thinking about the mainstay characters. So
they added a lot of mainstay characters too. Yeah. You know, and this is something we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about
what I want to talk about before you move on.
Halle
Berry. Do you know the story that it actually how they got Halle Berry back, because she wasn't initially planning on coming back?
No.
So she did not want to come back unless her role as Storm got expanded. So the whole reason she takes over as the leader of X-Men
is because she went. That's all they.
They wrote it that way, not as a plan, but because she demanded to have a bigger role.
Interesting. Well, she's a leader of the X-Men occasionally in the comics. So
Agreed.
I'm not
so it's not outside of the bounds, but it was just an interesting behind the scenes
that
like she demanded for her role to be expanded in this movie.
Yeah.
And so they wrote her when Professor Xavier
has her become the leader.
Was killed.
Yeah.
She becomes the leader when everybody expected
Scott was dead.
Scott to be the leader.
Yeah.
But she becomes the leader, and that's the reason they wrote it that way, was because she demanded for that to happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Rotten Tomatoes score, we got 57% from the critics and 61%, so pretty much down the middle for the audience.
Down the middle. I mean,
57 and 61.
Do you, as a teacher, let me just get this straight.
Yeah.
Okay? 57%. Your kid, you mark a 57% on a test.
Yeah.
What a grade is that? Do you say, hey, you did down the middle?
No. I'm saying like half of the people liked it, half of them didn't. Like, so it's
right. So what would you categorize that as?
Oh no, you get an F.
You got an F.
Yeah.
This is not a good. This is not down the middle.
Yeah, but like, so according to the Rotten Tomatoes scale, 57 is right below fresh, and 61 is considered fresh. So they're not considered rotten in that case.
Rotten Tomatoes and I will have a conversation about what is actually fresh.
Yeah.
But
So that's that, and then the source material, we're just gonna chalk it all into Dark Phoenix Saga. So the Dark Phoenix Saga, that run in the 80s, we'll just chalk it to that. So
specifically for this X3, we're not. I know there's other things that we could talk about for X1, X2, and all of that, but Dark Phoenix Saga is where they're really trying to pull from,
which is what they should have done. I'm not upset with what they chose to jump to, and I'm not upset with. That decision of being X3 should be Dark Phoenix. It should have been.
It should be. I mean, the way that they built, they did. Okay. Magneto to start, Logan as a focus for 2, and 3 go to Dark Phoenix. Yeah,
it made total sense. All right, let's jump into that correction. Okay, all right. So we have. Again, like most of our corrections, we have plenty of things we could talk about, but we've narrowed it down to a couple main topics that we want to kick into. So,
I mean, there's a lot here we could dig into, but these are the 3 that really bother us the most. Because there's a lot of things we could say.
Yeah, but these hurt us the most. So, the one thing that you really were harping on, and I agree with you 100%, is too many mutants. Not enough development of those mutants. So who were you most upset about not getting development for?
I mean, my biggest one is probably my favorite mutant, which is Juggernaut.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you introduced Juggernaut.
We saw him in the trailers. We got so excited.
Everyone was excited. And everybody was wondering, when is Juggernaut going to come in here?
And I liked when he appeared. Like, I was like, oh, right. They broke him out of the prison, like out of the prison transport. I was like, now it's going to get good.
Yeah, I mean... And the thing about Juggernaut is, like, he has a much deeper storyline.
Yeah.
0 development.
Well, and he's not even Charles's brother.
Right, exactly. In the comics, Juggernaut is Charles Xavier's brother.
Yeah.
And he is an unstoppable force.
Right.
The reason he wears... I know they mention it, but his helmet is not just... for the ramming
head protection
like when he is moving,
but
it's also to prevent Charles
from stopping him,
from being able to stop him.
He's the only one who can stop him.
Exactly.
Well, and Jean could at some point in the comics, but still,
And arguably Phoenix,
sure, she could
with manifesting in Jean could do it as well.
Yeah,
but we get none of that. All we find out is he's an unstoppable force, and they have him locked up on a moving train prison. Moving truck prison.
Yeah.
That's all we get.
No,
that's it.
He's essentially hired muscle.
He's a hired muscle.
It's dumb.
And that is it.
Yeah.
This is one of the most beloved characters in X-Men. People, I don't. It's not because he's like so deep and rich, but because it's just such a cool power.
Yeah.
This man is an unstoppable force. Once he gets moving, you cannot stop him.
He can take in the comics, he's taken the whole team on before.
Right.
Like the whole X-Men team.
Right.
He's held them back. They've had to use every ounce of their teamwork to pry that helmet off so that they could get into his mind telepathically to stop him.
You see somewhat of a better portrayal of that in Deadpool 2.
Yes, for sure.
Deadpool 2, you get a little
way
bit
more
more
comic
of that.
Accurate.
Way more comic accurate, and some of that power that you're really looking for. In this...
And he's voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
Right. In this one, he just runs through walls. His whole purpose, you don't actually even see him fight mutants.
Yeah.
Like, he just runs through walls.
Well, and can I say that when Kitty Pryde took him through the floor,
right,
and then she let go, he's dead.
Yeah, dead.
Because his atoms rematerialized inside the floor.
Right.
So he's not the floor's atoms are mixed with his atoms.
Right.
He died there.
He dead.
But he was just stuck in the floor and he broke himself out.
Right.
No,
that doesn't make
the floor's
any sense.
inside his body. That's how her powers work. You can't stop.
You
can't let them go.
So that goes to my next point. So we're getting hung up on just Juggernaut.
Sure.
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
We don't get much of a development around Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, a little more.
I'm not saying we don't get a little more, but what I'm saying is what you just said.
Yeah.
And the way that you just walked through her powers.
Yeah.
You don't know that in the film.
Well, and she
can
huge.
just go through walls. Do they have a problem with walls? 2 newly introduced characters are just about breaking down or going through walls. That is all we get from 2 very powerful characters.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is just about getting through walls.
Well,
are you kidding me?
Walls are tough.
Literally, I'm just Magneto's version is my guy can break down walls.
Yeah.
Professor Xavier's is mine can run through them.
Yeah. I guess.
And that's all they use them for. So that is infuriating.
True. Yeah. Wasted.
And then it's just a medley of what I feel like are either way too many unnecessary characters.
Sure. Yeah.
And no development.
Yeah.
Or
they could have just
we have characters that we like and they don't do anything really with them. So another example, Multiple Man.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Multiple Man is broken out of this moving prison where Juggernaut is as well.
Right. He's held with Juggernaut and Mystique.
And he becomes a part of the Brotherhood.
Right.
Right? And what they end up using him for at the end,
a decoy,
is a decoy.
Yeah.
And he's captured, and you assume then he's going to be put back in prison. So he knowingly was a decoy that was then going to go back to prison. Why would he agree to that?
Well, he's not the most intelligent guy in the comics either.
You don't have to be most intelligent in any way to figure out that this is a bad deal.
Well, maybe Phoenix made him do it.
I know. Now you're stretching.
I know. They don't say it. Yeah, they don't say it. There's quite a few. Yeah.
There's quite a few. Yeah. And then don't get just
So can
these
Can we
No.
agree?
I'm about to have to say his name again.
Oh, Quill. I'll say it for you. Quill.
Yeah. This whole segment of like hunting mutants.
Yeah.
That are like they're able to like track and tell like, oh, you're a level 3.
Well, they only
level
needed
4.
one to do that, and she was fine.
She was fine. But what I'm saying is, there's like a pack of them that they don't like develop or understand, or they're like a crew.
Well,
and then they become part of the Brotherhood.
One was seismic. She could like send seismic waves. The other one could tell mutant power levels. Right. And apparently
two legitimate powers.
Well, no, and she apparently had super speed too. Because remember, she had super speed.
Right. But two legitimate powers.
That's true. And then Quill, which we've talked about him before. We talked about
He's the worst.
We talked about him in our top 10 best and worst mutant powers.
Yes.
And obviously he was one of the worst. But we had mentioned that he killed a security guard. It wasn't even a security guard. He killed the doctor assistant.
Right.
So he didn't even kill a security guard. Like anyone who she was no threat.
She didn't
whatsoever.
Matter at
all.
He
literally hugged her and then
spiked her. And that is the only thing he is good for.
Well, yeah, he was the only character I was okay with getting vaporized by Phoenix at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he
got vaporized. It was
he needed to be vaporized immediately.
So can we agree that the only new character that they actually did justice to was Hank?
Yes.
So Beast, they did justice to. They
did justice to Beast,
but
and he needed to be introduced to bridge the gap.
Yeah, and he was great.
The future. So I love.
They did a great
Hank.
Job with him.
Oh my gosh!
But
they did a great job with Kelsey
1%
Grammer.
Success rate. At that
right,
point.
because there's at
everybody
least
else
100 new mutants in this.
Everybody else was just trash.
We get Spike, right?
Yeah.
And who they don't even call Spike.
But he is on IMDb page, so he did get actor. I looked into it. He did get actor credit.
He got actor
Spike,
credit as Spike.
But he gets
and he's
killed
not
in like
at
2
all
seconds.
the powers at all like Spike.
It only comes out of his forearms instead of all over his body. He dies.
He dies
right away.
Immediately.
Right away.
He's never introduced as Spike.
He has no lines.
No, he yells.
Yeah.
He yells, stabs Wolverine, and Wolverine kills him.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Over.
Yeah.
So like we have some characters here that
Angel.
Oh my gosh.
Angel gets
another one of the. We see a lot of bad mutants in this movie.
I think Angel. Well, regardless of how good his mutant power is, I think Angel is on the same par as Kitty Pryde in how much he gets.
Yeah.
Because he gets some.
Well, and he gets some real emotional beats.
He's a good emotional beat for his father. I think he was really good for the father.
Agreed.
But he's Angel. He's one of the original X-Men.
Right? I know.
In the comics.
And that's the other thing that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So he's an original X-Men. They bring in an original X-Men in Hank.
Right.
But then they change the storyline on an original X-Men with Angel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no fun. Yeah. And he's way too young.
I'm blown away by it.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. So yes, too many mutants, not enough development. And speaking of not enough development, this comes
wrong
into
development.
Right. Oh, yes. And incorrect. This comes into our second point. And in all honesty, since we're going in we're kind of going in chronological order here with our points.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst. This is definitely. I'm going to say this is the worst. This is the
This
worst.
is the worst part of this.
The worst
film.
part of it is the disservice they did to Dark Phoenix.
Well, so horrible disservice.
Horrible.
But
disservice.
here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay. First movie.
Yeah.
X1.
Right.
Your entry point is Wolverine. Right?
Yes.
But the focus is on really the villain. It's on Magneto.
Sure.
It's on Magneto's development. It's on why he's the villain. It's on establishing the antagonist and the protagonist.
Right.
Like
and
I
we're
said
seeing
earlier
it
on.
through the vantage point of
Right.
Wolverine.
The second one.
Yep.
Your main character, your main
Is
focus
Wolverine.
is Wolverine
Yep.
now.
Great.
That is your main development.
Yeah.
If your main development for the third one, if you follow the same formula, because it's worked now twice,
Right.
do it again.
It should be.
Phoenix.
Phoenix. Yeah.
They do terrible development of her.
Yep.
And she is not Phoenix.
Yeah. 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 Well,
They change the entirety
Yeah.
of who Phoenix is in the
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
It is horrible. This is one of arguably
Yeah.
one of the best story arcs in
Oh,
X-Men.
It's one of my favorites.
It's one of my
by
favorites.
far.
Top three? Top three?
I would say top two.
Top two. I'm with you.
I'd say my top three are Age of Apocalypse #1.
I'm with you.
Dark
Agreed.
Phoenix #2.
Yep.
House of M #3.
You and I are on.
Yeah. I would say
dead on.
that's
Dead on. So top
so good.
two.
So good.
Top two for
Yeah.
each of us.
Yeah.
Is this storyline?
Yeah. So great.
They change it completely.
Everything. Well, yeah, and not even just the storyline. Like, I don't mind them changing the Hellfire Club, and all that. Like, I don't mind them having it take place at a different time period.
Oh yeah,
but don't change what Phoenix is. So the Dark Phoenix entity is a space entity. It's a creature, right? That leaches itself onto Jean Grey,
right,
which is awesome. They change it.
I don't understand. That isn't what you just said. Is awesome. It's cool. It's great.
Yeah.
Why? You don't need to do anything with that.
And why couldn't they have had this? Because it sought her out because she's so powerful.
Right.
So why couldn't it have seen her dying on Earth and gone into the river and latched onto her?
Literally.
Just do that.
The end of X2 is
we see the Phoenix light up.
A Phoenix reflection in the water.
That's the entity coming down.
That's the entity coming down to save her because they see how powerful she is and it embodies her. It takes over.
I would say that's probably what Bryan Singer was going to do.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Well,
that is just plain logic.
Yeah. Well, they change it. And they change it to while Professor X is working with her to control her powers,
right?
She develops a split personality, and that split personality names itself Phoenix.
And
he puts up psychic barriers.
He puts up barriers. So it makes you
not like
Professor X.
Now he put up barriers in the comics too to help her, but it was with her consent.
That was because she was
possessed by an evil creature.
By a creature that she didn't ask for.
Right.
That is completely different. That is a man helping her with her permission when she can't control it.
Right.
He did this without her permission,
because
unknowing to her, because he was afraid of what she could become.
Which, in all honesty, is also a cool storyline, but it's not Dark Phoenix.
But here's
the thing.
Don't make it Dark Phoenix. They could have done both. They could have done both.
Yeah.
They could have had such latent powers that she was afraid of.
Right.
That she
talked with him about. He put those in place.
He put those barriers
and then the Phoenix took him out.
Phoenix breaks them.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
They didn't do any of that.
They didn't do that.
This is not Phoenix. This is multi-personalities Jean Grey.
Which again, okay, let's say they keep that, right?
Sure.
Let's say
they could have gone that route instead.
And they don't call it Phoenix.
Right.
And she's just cracked because she came close to dying. Which I can see that, right?
Yeah.
Then use her. In the movie, not only do they disservice her in her comic book counterpart, but they disservice her in her movie counterpart too.
Yeah.
Because they don't even use her. She
just stands around.
Right, I'm gonna say the bridge scene, the Golden Gate Bridge scene is really cool, but a cooler scene and a more gutsy scene and a scene that I think actually worked was her killing Professor X. I thought that was super gutsy.
Yeah, it was real gutsy.
Really gutsy. And I thought it was really, the emotional beats were there. It was great. You saw Eric crack, and he like cried out for his friend, and then you see him die. I thought that was fantastic. That was the Phoenix we wanted. And or the unhinged Jean Grey we wanted.
Right.
After that, she just stands there and looks grumpy.
Stands around,
like
looks
she just
upset
looks miserable
the whole
and
time.
Doesn't do
It's not even good
anything.
acting.
She just
stands there.
I don't even blame her because her stage direction was stand there and look moody. Like
that was her direction.
That's all she did. She just stood there. Like you've got
it's
you've
pathetic.
got the most powerful mutant, whether you use Phoenix or not.
Right.
Whether you call it Phoenix or not.
Right.
She's the most powerful mutant.
You got to do
She's
something
right
with
there.
her.
Let her do, and they had her do stuff in the final battle, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
They had her do stuff for like 30 seconds. And when she did stuff, it was cool.
Yeah.
But she did it for 30 seconds, and the rest of it was just a waste of time.
So you build up. I mean, in this movie, literally this scene. So we know Professor Xavier is one of the most powerful mutants on the planet.
Right.
Right? So you build up, and we see
he's a level 5, class 5, and so is she.
So is she.
Yeah.
We see them go toe-to-toe.
Yeah.
And her destroy him.
Yeah. Like, literally wipes him out.
From there,
you
do nothing with her.
Yeah,
that is stupid.
Yeah, she just stands in the background.
Everyone is literally craving what we just saw.
Right.
And then you spend a whole movie not giving us any of it. And the movie is supposed to be centralized around her.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? This goes back to our first topic of too many mutants, right?
Right. It distracts.
If they would have just centralized on the core Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yes.
The end, and our last topic is the final battle and how bad it is, right?
Yeah.
That end battle would have been, they didn't need to bring a whole army.
No!
They could have just brought the Brotherhood. They
could just bring the normal Brotherhood. Yep, with Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix.
Yes.
And that would have been it. And that would have been great. But instead, it becomes this giant mess of a battle with
which
like
is
100
disconnected
mutants
and incoherent.
Doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like, half of the fight was Storm trying to figure out where the fast lady was. Like,
sure.
What is going
and
on?
What they ended up doing, though, here's what they ended up doing. They ended up doing just one-on-one battles anyways.
Yeah. Except for Wolverine, who stabbed everybody.
Everyone.
Like,
everyone gets stabbed.
It was just
everyone dies.
He just kills everybody.
Which also doesn't make any sense. I know.
Yeah.
Let's get to the final battle.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I know that they did a good job of having Wolverine learn from his mistake.
Yeah, he forgot all of it.
But
he's just like, well, these guys are in my way, so I'm just going to kill everybody.
But no. But the mistake of him being metal, trying to go against Magneto.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
that. They have him learn from him. There's that later on in the battle.
Yeah. He works as a team.
But Magneto could have stopped him at any point from killing literally everybody.
Yeah, but this goes back to, and you and I talked about this a little bit before we recorded the podcast, but this goes back to Magneto's cutthroatness, that he just doesn't care. Dude, he doesn't care about the giant horde of mutants he brought here.
Yeah.
He cares as little as we care about them. Like, he's just like, I'll let Wolverine kill everybody.
But the thing about it is, had they just brought the Brotherhood, they probably would have done a better job.
And it would have been faster, way more time efficient.
Well, because you get Pyro versus
Iceman, right?
You get
Juggernaut versus Beast.
Yeah. You get Kitty Pryde and Juggernaut.
Well, yeah, but I think Juggernaut versus Beast would have been better.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking what we actually got. I'm not talking what we could have got.
So you got those two.
I'm saying
you got
we
Fast
get people
Lady.
match up. People match up anyways.
Yeah, you got Fast Lady versus Storm.
Yep.
Well, then who would Wolverine get? I
No,
guess.
Wolverine was just slashing and gashing everybody.
No. I'm saying if you would just have the Brotherhood. You were saying if you just bring in the Brotherhood.
Have the Brotherhood.
So if we let's think about it this way. If we just bring in the Brotherhood.
I'm saying the problem with this was they brought an army.
Yeah.
Right?
And they didn't need it.
But they didn't fight like an army.
Well, that's because
he sent people in like waves.
Yeah, that's because he doesn't care.
Well, but my bigger point with it was you brought an army, so it has to play out like an army attacking a handful of people. But what happened was, what was everybody doing?
Just running. They were just
running
around.
They were all just running, and were they just like banging on the wall?
Yeah. Well,
like what were they doing?
Well, but it
was It was 30 on 1.
Yeah.
So it looked
well,
like,
they had an army. They had an army.
Exaggerating.
They had an army with the plastic guns. Here's the problem.
I guess that's the way we're supposed to play it. Is like the guys with the plastic guns.
We're doing stuff. Here's the problem. Magneto, he just went to like bars and places where people were. He didn't actually get fighters.
Yeah,
like,
that's
he just
true.
got random dudes.
You're right. I mean, like he wasn't getting class 5s.
Yeah, it was stupid. Just what he should have done is he should have grabbed the speed lady.
Yeah.
With the power things. He should have grabbed the seismic lady.
Yeah.
He should have killed Quill
on the spot.
And just taken those two with his Brotherhood, with Juggernaut, Multiple Man, and Mystique. But obviously Mystique got hurt or got cured. Yeah. But he should have taken them, and that would have been fine.
Right.
They would have been able to do everything.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I had also talked about this. This was before movies, studios had figured out how to do team battles.
Right. A big, like Civil War was the first time we really saw it.
A good team battle.
Be really good.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, like, the first Avengers movie was similar, just way better choreographed.
Sure.
Of, like, them taking in little, like, pockets of fights.
Yeah.
But Civil War was like, oh, man. That airport scene is still one of the best scenes in Marvel.
Sure, as much as I have problems with Civil War,
that
is
airport
a great scene.
The airport scene, I could watch that every day.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with Civil War is a lot of people should have died at the end.
Yeah.
But and nobody ever dies in movies.
Yeah.
In comics movies.
Hey, hey, listen, Cyclops died. No, he didn't. He came back. Days of Future Past. Never mind. Well, you're right. Nobody ever dies. Nobody ever dies.
Yep.
This final battle
my point
was a
here
train wreck.
It was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
I mean, literally, Juggernaut's just running through walls.
Yep.
That was his whole purpose.
Yep.
Why? He could have taken them all on by himself.
Oh, he was going for the kid.
I get that. But Kitty Pryde is there.
She killed
just
him.
Like grabbing him and pulling him through stuff, and he should have died.
Yeah.
Like, you have Pyro versus Iceman.
Yeah.
We see Iceman become Iceman fully for the first time.
Yeah.
Which nobody cares about.
No.
Because he's Iceman.
Yeah.
And he sucks.
Can I just say that, just real quick, side note.
Yeah.
Everybody got a cool superhero / supervillain like outfit.
Yeah.
Like leather and and pads and stuff.
Yep.
Right? And then Pyro is just like in jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
the whole movie.
And he's been with them the longest.
Yeah, they get to the end battle.
He should have gotten rewarded in some way.
The end battle, everybody comes in decked in like superhero, supervillain outfits.
Not him.
Pyro's wearing like his Jenko jeans and like his t-shirt and ratty sweater, and that's what he's fighting in.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
So the whole battle is just disconnected. It's just they're all just squaring off. It is a big mess. It makes no sense with them having an army and not actually operating like an army.
Yeah.
It falls apart.
Yeah.
And you don't actually get to see the people on display the way you want to. The only exception is Beast.
Yeah, him swinging around and kicking people.
And tearing them apart. Like, he is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But he's the saving grace of this movie. Like, Kelsey Grammer playing Beast is one of the best parts of this movie.
It was so good. And can I also say that Phoenix did it first? That was literally the same effect when Thanos snaps people.
Yeah.
When she was killing people. I was watching it. I was like, oh, that's like the exact same dusting effect.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre. I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Again,
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, like 30 seconds of that.
First off.
Yeah.
Wolverine can't get to her.
Not in comic book Dark Phoenix.
No.
I think in movie Dark Phoenix he could have.
There's no way. So here's what I've talked about. We see, yes, his body regenerates.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've seen that. We've seen it previously. Not that fast.
Yeah. And you know what really regenerates fast?
That's breaking a parameter. He gets shot in the head and he's knocked unconscious.
For like a few minutes.
For it's like a minute. I think it's literally like a minute. He is going up against Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
She hits him once with a blast. He's at least unconscious.
Well, no, and you know what? You're right, because she did hit him with a not with a blast, but like with her force when she woke up in the hospital room.
Right.
And she knocked him out for like Storm found and woke him up.
It makes no sense.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And we're supposed to believe. I already know.
Yeah.
I already know the argument against it.
Yeah.
Her love for him.
She's not giving her full power.
She knocked him unconscious when she didn't mean to.
With just a swipe.
With just a fraction of the power. No.
Yeah.
He can't get to her to actually stop her.
Yeah.
And so we get this battle where she has destroyed. She's wiping people out.
Yeah, seconds.
Yep,
gone.
She's killed Xavier.
Yeah.
And she can't take down Wolverine?
It's the love, man.
No,
it's
man.
The love.
No.
No, listen, we are talking about the wrong thing here. We're talking about the wrong thing.
Why? What do you mean?
We need to be talking about Wolverine's pants.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? How in the world? What are his pants made of?
I don't know, man.
They must be adamantium pants.
Yeah,
they can't even be. How in the world did
everything
his
else
pants
is
stay
ripped
on?
off of him.
Everything else is gone. His pants. It's like the Hulk. Him and the Hulk must.
Him and
shop
the Hulk
at the
have
same
the
place.
same pants.
They shop at. They have the same tailor.
Yep.
It must be how it is. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to our verdict. Let's wrap this up because this was a train wreck of a movie, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No, that's
it was so bad.
Here's one thing I will say.
Yeah.
It was a poor way to wrap up a trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
It really, I believe 100%, and I've said this before, I will say it again.
Yeah.
Endings make movies.
Yeah.
I do not care if a movie is great for 99% of the movie.
Yeah. If
ruin the ending. If the ending is bad, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
And this ending ruined not just this movie, but it ruined a lot of the work that they were doing in 1 and 2 to build up to this point.
Yeah, it did.
And
it did.
That's sorely disappointing.
Yeah.
It is.
Especially when the payoff was supposed to be Dark Phoenix.
Exactly. It puts
a
bad
big
taste in your mouth. And so the correction here, the verdict, the fix, do Dark Phoenix right.
Yeah, do the actual Dark Phoenix
exactly.
Saga. Bring her in. Don't worry about the Hellfire Club stuff.
No.
Don't worry about that.
Nope.
Just allow the Dark Phoenix entity to be the thing that resurrected her.
Right.
Not her latent split personality.
Right.
Let
and
it
do
be
the
Dark Phoenix.
storyline with her as the focus.
Yeah, let her be the villain, not Magneto and his charge against the Cure.
Yeah.
Let it be
They actually
Dark
didn't
Phoenix.
even need anything else added with Dark Phoenix.
No.
They just needed to do the storyline in the arc well.
She should have been manipulating the Brotherhood.
Right.
And using them until it didn't see her fit anymore. And then do her thing.
They made it
That would
seem
be great.
like she wasn't... Like, the Phoenix is incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
And they made it seem as though it was just power and not intelligence along with it.
It does feed off passion. Like it always did. But yeah, it had a purpose.
Right.
And it had a goal. And she was just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
She just sat there.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Legion.
Yeah.
The unfortunate piece about this is we're
They
going to
did it
talk
again.
about Phoenix again.
They
did
it
it again. I don't know how they didn't learn from this.
You know, we can just pray.
You know why they didn't learn from this?
Why?
We didn't exist.
That's true. If they had been listening to us,
if we had this, we could have maybe
Right.
headed off the issues that they have down the road that we're going to talk about.
they're gonna be listening to this podcast and be like, man, where were
these guys?
Well, you know what? Then MCU, you better be listening.
That's right.
MCU, you got to be listening.
Got to fix this. I need to see a good Dark Phoenix
storyline.
storyline.
Dark Phoenix, and they can do it.
Yeah,
I believe
of course.
They can do it.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. That was good. That was a good way to start out our Mutant Mayhem.
Mutant Mayhem.
We're 1 down, 4 to go.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. Maybe 5.
No, 4 to go.
4
bad
right?
ones to go.
4 bad ones.
4
yeah,
bad
we'll talk
ones.
About other good
4
ones.
corrections to go, but
4
we've got
more.
we've got a couple of perfections in there that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to jumping through this series with you guys. We can't wait to kick in to our next Mutant Mayhem, which is going to be, is it Wolverine Origins?
Next one.
Wolverine Origins, man.
Wolverine Origins.
It totally is.
It is.
I'm not looking forward to that
so
one.
bad.
That's going to hurt.
Oh.
It's like heartburn. It's like indigestion.
There is not.
I don't wanna
Here's
see
the
it.
thing.
I don't want to watch
We
it.
got to talk about these in a bit of like an up and down pattern because there are some that really just break the mold with how bad they are.
Yeah. This is one of them.
Because this X3 compared to Origins is an Oscar-winning movie.
Well, you know, the only positive to talk about X-Men Origins or Wolverine Origins is that we're going to have to watch Logan along with it to be its comparison.
Right.
That's the only positive thing about
you
this.
Got to
that
look
we
at the
get to watch
beginning.
Logan
You got to look at the origin and the beginning and the end.
Exactly.
Alpha and Omega.
Yep. So we got to. That's the only positive outlook.
Yeah.
We got. I can't wait for Logan.
Yeah.
I can wait for X-Men Origins, but we're gonna
wait all day.
We'll have to
I can wait forever.
We got to do it. All right, Legion fans, if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that like, make sure to smash that bell, make sure to check back here every Monday and Wednesday for new content. We are going to continue to go through our Mutant Mayhem and our other corrections on other wonderful comic properties. Well, comic properties we wish were a little more wonderful. So make sure you check back here for that content. Yeah. Patreon.
Man, if you are not on Patreon, you're missing out on some of our exclusive content on there. Check us out. Be able to get a look at some of our behind-the-scenes footage, some of our extra designs and drawings. Greg's got some great stuff up there in terms of his designs for some of our stuff coming up. As well as the podcast of nothing. You're missing out on nothing.
That's right. Wait. Or is it something?
Yeah. Might be something.
It might be something. You'll have to find out by...
Might be a little bit of something or nothing out of nothing.
Yeah, so what's really cool is that our podcast of nothing is actually available to our top 2 tiers. So the $5 and the $10.
So join the Legion.
Join it.
Check out our extra footage. Yeah. And also get us one step closer to a Hulk punch meeting Greg's face.
Yeah, in slow motion. So check back here, guys, next week at the same time, same place, same Legion.